Here's a CNBC story. This is why class valedictorians don't become millionaires. Everyone remembers their class valedictorian. Perfect grades, perfect test scores, and in some cases, perfect hair. They probably went on to professional fame and enormous wealth, right? Not necessarily. In his new book, Eric Barker explores the maxims we use to discuss success. He finds the valedictorian rarely become standout successes. His assessments are based on research by Karen Arnold, a professor at Boston College and the authors of Lives of Promise. What becomes of high school valedictorians? She tracked 81 high school. This is pretty interesting. She tracks 81 high school valedictorians after graduation. He writes, there was little debate that high school success predicted college success. Nearly 90% are now in professional careers with 40% in highest tier jobs. They are reliable, consistent, and well-adjusted. By all measures, the majority have good lives, but how many of them are number one high school performers go on to change the world, run the world, or impress the world? The answer seems to be clear. You know what the answer is? Zero. Not one, not five, zero. It seems that the traits that set one up for exceptional success in high school and college, self-discipline, and the ability to comply with rules, are not the same traits that lead individuals to start disruptive companies or make shocking breakthroughs. Valedictorians aren't likely to be the future visionaries, says Arnold. They typically settle into the system instead of shaking things up. What are your thoughts on that?
Bingo.
I'll give the guy credit for getting a lot of publicity for writing a bullshit book. Okay, seriously.
Wow.
I think look, I've written a lot of books. I've written a lot of books.
Tom's on one today. Tequila Tom is my favorite Tom.
That's nothing. Hey, I'm all for writing books. I've written 41 of them, okay? I know what it takes. I write nonfiction. He writes fiction. To say that there's zero valedictorians that have been successful, this guy's a nerd that got shot down by a valedictorian, and he's probably a virgin. I mean, if you break through this... Okay, here's some names. Are these people not successful? Hillary Clinton, Conan O'Brien, Cindy Crawford, Kevin Spacey, Jodie Foster, Ben Stein, and Sonia Sotomayor.
Cindy Crawford was a valedictorian?
Yes, she was, in DeKalb, Illinois, and you can look all these up. Kai, verify them for me. So for him to say zero's wrong, but good job getting the pub.
In his study, so he must have picked the certain people. Look, I think the key of what you mentioned here that relates so much is this talk about norms and not having visionary breakthrough ideas. And that's what California needs. Visionary breakthrough
here
ideas.
we go.
Boom!
What in the AOC, MSNBC just happened? That was some solid spin. He's leaning into this whole politician thing. So, hey, he quoted...
At least you know how I feel.
He quoted Aristotle before. I'll quote Marilyn Monroe by saying, well-behaved women rarely make history, man. And that's the thing here, right? Like, what makes you a valedictorian? It's obedience, right? Like, you're smart, but high school's not hard. College isn't hard. They tell you exactly what to do, and then all you got to do is do what they tell you to do. Wow. There's no innovation in modern education. There's a literal syllabus. They say do this by this date,
but there's a little
and if you
competition
can do it,
because other people are trying to do it as well.
Sure,
so to stand out amongst them,
fine, whatever. But I mean, dude, I remember watching. I was there watching Pat with Jordan Peterson. He talked about disagreement. Remember, you talked about the ability to be disagreeable. All right, one of my favorite interviews on this channel, and he was talking about like why are men predominantly more in positions of power and authority than women, and is it because of societal systemic issues? And Jordan Peterson said, yeah, some of it, but most of it is just because men have a predilection to being disagreeable. We don't mind disagreeing with one another, as you've seen at this table today. Whereas maybe it's the way women are raised, or maybe it's something to do nature or nurture, but they tend to want to avoid that conflict, at least in public, not necessarily in private, but in public. They don't want to be seen as being disagreeable, and that ability to be disagreeable is the number one determinant of your ability to rise through the ranks of business, right? So I think that there's something to be said for the way, and this goes back to the earlier conversation about education, there's something to be said for the way that we are systemically teaching people to be obedient, not to be intelligent. And that's something that we're doing. We are raising factory workers. We're raising people who need to show up at a certain time, clock in, clock out.
Corporate clones, basically.
That's it.
Yeah.
Our public education system is made so that people can effectively work at Amazon warehouses, not create a competitor to Amazon.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.